okay, I can hold for one more year, but why? To say goodbye in every single tournament? I mean, I don't have that ego to need that. For me today, I mean, don't make sense to keep going knowing that I don't have the real chance to be competitive the way that I like to be.
It's always a pleasure playing against you. You're a big champion. For me, you're the greatest player.
Tennis fans anticipated a young champion celebrating her victory, yet nobody expected to witness a legend overcome by emotion. When Eala collapsed onto the court following the most significant win of her career, cameras captured a parallel, more surprising scene unfolding thousands of miles away. Watching from home, Rafael Nadal found himself unable to restrain his tears. Within minutes, the footage of his reaction went viral across the internet. But why would one of the toughest competitors in tennis history weep at that specific moment? Furthermore, what did he understand about her arduous journey that the rest of the world had yet to discover?
The first time I met Rafa, I was on the way to his academy. Oh my gosh, I was on the way to his academy because I was gonna try it out. We ran into him in the airport. It's kind of embarrassing to say, we kind of ran after him. Like, not ran after, but we were, fangirling. And then we told him, oh, we're going to your academy. And then he took a picture with us. Second time! Oh my gosh, that was the second time. The first time I, quote unquote, met Rafa, he came to my school in Manila.
The instant that video appeared online, viewers quickly realized it was no typical sports clip. Millions clicked play, anticipating a standard championship celebration. However, what unfolded instead possessed an emotional depth that few moments in modern tennis ever achieve.
I mean, nobody needs a successor. I think gonna come another players that then gonna be someone's maybe gonna be better than me. Probably someone's gonna try hard and not gonna achieve what I achieved. But at the end, tennis will always have champions, no? And now Novak is still there, competing and winning, and of course we have two new great champions like Yannick and Carlos, that they are great ambassadors.
On one side of the world, a young player collapsed onto the court in tears after securing the most significant title of her career. Simultaneously, on the other side of the globe, sitting quietly within his home in Mallorca, one of the greatest competitors the sport has ever witnessed could not restrain his own tears as he watched the scene unfold.
Eala already putting work in the lab with one of the greatest to ever pick up a tennis racket. 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal posted a video on his official social media pages hitting the court with the Filipino sensation. It's been almost a year since the King of Clay called it a career after his campaign at the Davis Cup. Nadal says it was great to practice with Alex, who is a graduate of his tennis academy. Rafa adds he promises to be stronger next time.
That player was Rafael Nadal, and the young woman lying on the court with tears streaming down her face was Eala. Within hours, the footage had gone viral across every major online platform. Sports pages shared it relentlessly, and news channels replayed the moment repeatedly.
She's improving all the time. She's a really nice person already. She's a really good player. It's really nice to see her improving. She keeps going all the time. She's a fighter on the court. What is nice for me, she's so young, maybe she will play with my daughter one day. So it's really nice for me to see also the improvement. And I mean, she's a super good example for my daughter too, because she's really a fighter. She's positive. She goes out there. She's a kind person. And I think it's a really good example for everybody.
Individuals who had never previously followed tennis found themselves captivated, watching the same clip repeatedly while attempting to grasp its powerful effect. Headlines mirrored each other across the globe. Nadal breaks down, watching win. The emotional response of a legend transformed a single match into a worldwide story. Yet, those tears signified far more than just one victory. What the world witnessed was not merely a young player lifting a trophy. It was the culmination of years of quiet effort, sacrifice, setbacks, unwavering belief, and a deep bond between mentor and athlete that had been nurtured long before tennis fans noticed. To understand Nadal's reaction, the story must begin years earlier on the island of Mallorca, within the courts of the academy bearing his name. The Rafa Nadal Academy was never intended to be a comfortable environment. From the start, its philosophy emphasized discipline, relentless repetition, and the understanding that tennis greatness is earned, not stumbled upon. Beneath the scorching Mediterranean sun, clay courts test every player with daily routines designed to push them to their physical and mental limits. Each year, talented juniors from across Europe arrive, aiming to refine their skills and chase professional dreams. Most come from strong tennis foundations with established coaching and financial support. The atmosphere is fiercely competitive, sometimes brutally so, because every athlete knows that the path to professional tennis leaves little room for weakness.
It's been a long day, but it was a fun day, and alexeala was a big part of that. She really brought a lot of energy to this Australian Open in a way that I haven't really seen any player do before. Certainly not someone as new on the scene, so making their tournament debut.
Ben, appreciate you for staying up and joining us on the show. Ben, I want to ask you, what first drew you personally to the story of alexeala, and at what point did you realize that her rise was becoming something bigger than, just a new tennis sensation from the Philippines?
Yeah, I think I noticed her, like a lot of people did, when she made her run at the Miami Open last March, when she made the semifinals there.
A 1-2-year-old girl from Manila stepped through the academy gates carrying a scholarship and an enormous dream. Her name was Eala. At that time, very few individuals outside the academy knew what to expect from her. She was small for her age, naturally quiet, and arrived from a country where tennis does not dominate the sporting conversation. The Philippines has produced passionate athletes, yet the infrastructure supporting professional tennis development remains far more limited than what young players in Europe typically enjoy. Consequently, Eala began her journey from a position that demanded extraordinary resilience. While many of her fellow trainees arrived with established networks of coaches, sponsors, and competitive experience across European circuits, Eala possessed only a scholarship and an intense determination to prove she belonged. Living away from home at such a young age required an emotional maturity that most teenagers struggle to develop. Days at the academy followed a grueling rhythm. Morning fitness sessions commenced before the sun climbed high over Mallorca, and technical drills stretched for hours under the heat. Match simulations placed players in situations where mental strength mattered as much as physical skill. For scholarship athletes like Eala, the expectations felt even heavier. Every training session carried an unspoken message that an opportunity had been granted and must now be earned. Losses occurred frequently during those early years. Matches slipped away after promising starts, and tournaments often ended earlier than she had hoped.
A year since Rafa Nadal retired at the Davis Cup last year, when he played with Spain, of course, in Alcaraz, and then ended up going down to the Netherlands, but he's back on court for the first time. He hasn't been playing any tennis, and he's practicing with a very popular player. Let's go have a listen to what both Nadal and alexeala had to say about the practice session. This is what Rafa had to say over on Twitter. 1 year later, it felt great to be back on the tennis court. It was a great practice with you, alexeala.
After some of those defeats, she would return to her dormitory exhausted and discouraged, questioning whether the distance from home and the relentless schedule would ever be worth the effort. Yet, each morning, she showed up again. That quiet persistence slowly drew the attention of someone who recognized the hallmarks of true determination. Over the years, Eala continued to improve steadily. Her progress was not always dramatic, but it remained consistent. Her confidence grew as she faced tougher opponents and gradually learned to construct points at higher levels of competition. By 2022, the tennis world began to take notice when she captured the girls' singles title at the Australian Open Junior Tournament. Winning a junior Grand Slam does not guarantee professional success, but it signals that a player possesses the tools to compete at the sport's highest levels. Commentators watching that tournament remarked on something unusual in Eala's style. Her decision-making during critical moments revealed a maturity beyond her years. Rather than rushing points or forcing risky winners, she patiently constructed rallies until the right opportunity emerged.
Yeah.
Who were your idols when you were growing up?
So obviously Rafa Nadal was a big one. On the girl side, I really looked up to Maria Sharapova and Lina. And then a bit later on, Halep and Barty also, yeah.
That victory firmly placed her on the radar of international tennis observers. By the following year, she began transitioning into professional tournaments where the leap in skill level proved immediate and unforgiving. Opponents were older, stronger, and significantly more experienced in navigating high-pressure matches. Losses returned, sometimes painfully. Yet, the pattern that had defined her early academy years persisted. After every defeat, she analyzed her shortcomings and prepared for the next opportunity. Instead of faltering, she produced one of the most remarkable tournament runs of the season. In the second round, she defeated Madison Keys, a powerful American known for her aggressive baseline game. Observers initially dismissed it as a surprising but isolated upset. However, after she overcame Jelena Ostapenko in the third round, the commentary began to shift. Ostapenko's explosive shot-making had overwhelmed many seasoned professionals, yet Eala remained calm and adapted tactically throughout the match. Consequently, the tennis world began watching more closely. Then came the quarterfinal against Iga Swiatek, the reigning world number 2 and one of the most dominant players in women's tennis over the past 3 seasons. Few analysts predicted even a competitive match.
Card, one of the last picks even to get a wild card into that tournament, and she beat a lot of big players on her way to that semifinal, most notably Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek, who are two very different players, and the tennis that Eala produced to win that tournament was varied. She played different styles against different opponents. She was very adaptable. She was very smart with her game, and there was already in Miami, which is not a city with as big a Filipino community as some of the other big American cities, there were already quite a few fans in the stands with lots of flags. It only amplified when she came to New York for the US Open several months later, but it was nothing, either of those, as big as what I saw in Melbourne today.
Instead, Eala delivered the performance of her young career. She played with extraordinary composure, matching Swiatek's intensity rally after rally and refusing to give ground during critical points. When the match ended in straight sets, the internet exploded with reactions. Video highlights spread across social media instantly, and analysts began speculating that a new generational talent had arrived. Not long after the victory, she received a message that meant more to her than any headline. Rafael Nadal had reached out personally. Though the contents of the message remained private, Eala briefly acknowledged in a post-match interview how much it meant to hear from him. The gratitude on her face revealed the depth of the bond formed during her years at the academy. For Nadal, watching her progress was the fulfillment of something he had quietly believed in for years. Tennis carries a unique cruelty in moments like these. Matches can turn in minutes, and players must grapple with the emotional impact while competing point by point. Eala eventually lost. During the changeover, cameras captured her sitting quietly in her chair, unable to hold back tears. The disappointment was raw and profoundly human, a reflection of the immense effort she had poured into reaching that moment.
We're very close. Like it's not like we're just friends just in tennis. Like we're friends like even outside of tennis. Like we talk a lot. We try to spend some time together, which is not very easy. But yeah, we met in, I would say, 2021, around that, and since then, like, we're very good friends. And I love to be friends with all of them because, like, it's just like the struggles that we go through and the problems that we face, like it's like very similar. And I always tell them, like,
the footage circulated online within hours, and among the millions who viewed it was Rafael Nadal. His response appeared later that day on social media. Rather than offering a long analysis or advice, he wrote 4 simple words expressing absolute confidence that she would return stronger. Those words resonated widely with fans who understood the emotional landscape of tennis. Nadal himself had endured heartbreaking losses at major tournaments before eventually becoming one of the sport's most decorated champions. He saw the moment not as a failure, but as a stage in the growth of a future champion. The championship match began poorly as she lost the opening set, leading spectators to wonder whether fatigue might prevent her from mounting a comeback. Then, something shifted. Eala began striking the ball with renewed conviction, pushing her opponent deep behind the baseline and dictating rallies with aggressive topspin forehands. Point by point, she rebuilt momentum until the match moved into a decisive third set. When the final point landed inside the court, reality arrived all at once. Years of sacrifice, training sessions in Mallorca, early defeats, and moments of doubt converged into a single overwhelming wave of emotion. Eala fell to the court, covering her face with her hands as the crowd rose in applause.
Of course, we have to mention Eala, the incredible fandom coming, across the globe, especially from the Filipino community. So, that is very much on my mind. And then just the depth of our competition. We've had 4 major tournaments so far already in 26, Grand Slam and 3 1000s, all won by different.
Across the Atlantic Ocean, Rafael Nadal watched the broadcast from home. For a few seconds, he simply stared at the screen. Then, emotion took over. Tears welled up as he realized that the young athlete he had quietly supported for nearly a decade had just achieved her breakthrough. Someone captured his reaction on camera, and within an hour, the clip had spread across social media and news outlets worldwide. Viewers responded not only to the victory, but also to the authenticity of Nadal's reaction. In an era when professional sports often seem dominated by sponsorships and carefully curated public images, seeing a legend openly celebrate another athlete's success felt refreshingly genuine. For Eala, the experience felt almost surreal. She had grown up studying his matches, and now she was receiving direct guidance from the player whose competitive philosophy had shaped her development since childhood. During one rally, Nadal stepped forward and struck a classic forehand approach shot, the same weapon that had dismantled opponents on courts around the world for 2 decades. Eala later admitted that she briefly stopped playing just to watch the ball travel across the net. Nadal laughed and encouraged her to continue the rally. Moments like those revealed the deeper meaning behind his emotional reaction months earlier.
Never expected anything like this, sa totoo lang, because syempre Philippines is not really on the map here 6 months ago. Nung nanalo si Alex and she's getting a really good world ranking, she's doing well in the tournaments, she's beating champions, she's beating world number ones. That's given it so much great exposure for the Filipinos out here. That sometimes nagtetene, sometimes part ng mga barkada kasama, and then they go hit around. But now sometimes some of them will want to teach their children and hone their skills, so when they get older, they...
Eala's victory marked the start of a new chapter in tennis, while Nadal's tears reflected the pride of a mentor witnessing that chapter unfold long after both of their careers eventually fade into history. That image will remain a powerful reminder that behind every trophy lies a human story of perseverance, mentorship, and shared passion for the sport. Every long rally she refused to surrender, and every point she chased down when others might have given up echoed the lessons learned during her formative years at the Rafa Nadal Academy. For young athletes around the world, her journey carried a profound message. Eala did not start with the advantages many players enjoy. She came from a nation where tennis infrastructure is still developing and left home at a young age to chase a dream that demanded immense personal sacrifice. Her success showed that belief, when paired with relentless preparation, can overcome the limits of circumstance. Meanwhile, Nadal's emotional response reminded fans why he has earned universal respect throughout his career. Even after stepping away from professional competition, his connection to the game remains deeply personal. Witnessing one of his academy players reach a breakthrough meant more than observing another tournament result. It was watching years of mentorship, patience, and shared dedication finally flourish on the global stage. In that brief viral moment, the entire tennis world saw what genuine pride looks like when a legend watches the future of the sport step forward.